level. So let me pivot this conversation into, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about parenting, because from birth, definitely you have to nurture, from nature to nurture. Yeah. So you have been, many years ago, I think like, how many years now? 2014? That's 11 years. I visited you out there in, let me make this joke. You know, when I got to to Ireland to visit you and another friend, when I got to the border control, they asked me where I was going. Typical Nigeria. That time I had not moved to America, so my pronunciation was just anyway. So I said, Hasseburi. Hasseburi. So when I got to your place, I don't know how that conversation happened. I think I went to visit our friend in Selbridge. And when we were coming back, I now mentioned that when are we going to your place in Hasseburi? You looked at me like, oh my gosh. So when they were checking you in, what did you say? I said, Hasseburi now. You remember that joke? You're so tired of me that, Johnson, it is Hazelbury. So, and it was your son, if I remember very well. Nigeria, we used to say water, water. Georgie was the one that said, water. Remember, I would go to school to pick him up with you where we stroke to the water. I'd be like, where is the tea? Where is the tea inside this thing? You know? Yeah. So I said that to say this, that you have been a parent of very great children. I believe your wonderful teenagers, then they are grown-ups, you know, in their 20s. How is it parenting? At least you were parented in Africa. How is it parenting abroad? You've been in this business for over 20 years, and you know, compared to Africa. Tell me about it.
First and foremost, I say I thank God for being blessed with boys and girls. A boy and two girls. They've been good children for starters, and I'll probably say it. The type of parenting we had in Nigeria was very meaningful. I'll probably say that we had some sort of training that even when your parents wink at you, you know what it means.
That's true.
They don't need to speak. It's not a discipline. It's not a tough disciplinarian form of training, but it was comprehensive. And when you look back, now there are two ends of the divide. Even you can be in Nigeria and still nurture your children pretty much well. Tick all the boxes. You know, moral value, etiquette, everything that you need to respect. I've moved with some people maybe from other parts of Nigeria, the eastern part of Nigeria, and they tell you, I'm from the western part. They tell you when they see someone from the western part, their respect is their own. They can't address their parents by their name. They always bow. So even if you're abroad, that is what we call you have some Nigerianness in your house. And it goes a long way. Not all parents will be harsh or strict, but one has to be tough than the other. One has to be in one way or the other. But it's always good for both of you to be on the same page. Now, I come to it. How do you train your children? Are they involved in household chores, chores? Are they, you take a lot of things because it's so, and they have various stages when they're growing up, when they're walking, adolescent age, teenage years, and before they become youth ultimately. So whatever you impact, you get to an age that you realize you can't put in much, but it doesn't make a difference between your own age and their age. You always be their father, even when they become children, they start having their own children. We have sort of children now that we have to why you go into discussion with them. You might have your principle, your precept, your standard at home, but they want to know things. And these are the type of children we have now.
Wow.
So in our own time, I was dictated to medicine or nothing. And I obliged. People will tell you that I don't need to. I might do artificial intelligence or do cybersecurity. I might do music and I still make it. The ultimate is what comes into my box or account. and then you reach an account. We are from the generation where it's either medicine, law, all those things that are. My parents' perspective was, oh, you have a building, set up an hospital, all those things. But when you look at it now, everything you do, your quality of life is important now. In as
Absolutely.
much as we still have the passion to say, okay, you're still pretty much involved. I want them to do this. I want them to do this. It's not dictating for them now. So
Wow.
raising up children, it's a lot of things. We are in an environment that is a bit freer, but if you want to do them good, or if you felt you've been raised up and you've had positive impacts, you want to let them have the same thing. But you
Absolutely.
might, you might modify it. As the Bible says, moderation in everything, but give
Right.
them good discipline.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the scripture that says, "Let your moderation be known unto all men." All right, thank you. Doc, I will still dwell on that area a little bit. You're letting us know there's a balance, even though people think that African parents are hard-handed. Your opinion is that yes, they could be strict and sometimes fiscal with us, corporal punishment. But what we had growing up was comprehensive training. There was gestural communication. There was tactile communication. There was non-verbal communications between our parent and us. There was a synergy. We synced very well. We really understand when they just make moves, they do not have to say things. Thank you very much for that. But you've been parenting in diaspora for over 20 something years right now. And if you look at let me call it the terms and conditions or rules of engagement abroad, the scenario is different, though you have answered in a different way. But the fact that, the parenting style, I've had in this our own side, government taking people's children away from them, the social service, for certain reasons, just because of some probably negligence on the part of the parents, or the child calls up so can you share some of the experiences of that distinctively different divides of parenting here? Because it's not just society, government is involved, right? You must have seen or heard one or two areas where things went to the extreme. Can you share some of those with us?
I'll start from these saying, uh, when you're abroad, a lot of things might have taken you there. Were you invited? Were you economic migrants, social, academic? So a lot of circumstances determine how you get abroad. And in the course of your settling down, it's a stepwise approach. Are you properly documented? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have a work? Are you working? Are both of you working? And what stage of your development in terms of marriage? One child,
Your
two children,
status,
three. So when you're going there, so it boils down to, having explained that, you see what we call social class also get involved. So it depends on which side of it you have. Having said this, and again, and this is no respect of whether you have a religious background, any religious background, you can be fitted into any of all these I've mentioned. So finding yourself in the early age or early stages, are you struggling with work? So those are the things I tend to see. That's my own personal observation. That if you are in a higher social class, you might not be a victim of those. Unlike the other extreme, if you are in the lower social class and you are somehow
really?
involved with the government, so it doesn't mean that you can't see isolated people in the higher social class and their children are being taken. So
Wow,
it's a blend. So
that's an eye
when you
opener.
that's my own personal. Most, if you do a cohort or observational or experimental studies and say, okay, let's find out the number of people who have gotten this. So
That's an eye
you,
opener.
you you end up seeing that most people that end up, either there are some financial issues, some social issues. You could see some isolated children that are, you know, have
Wow.
some personal problems and they are taken out of from the couples. Are they
Wow.
broken home? That's another
Kettle of
another
fish
issue
entirely.
entirely. Another issue entirely. So we just have to look at it's multifactorial and it has many dimensions into it.
Right.
Unfortunately, because we are just getting adapted into the Western culture, so we are. I mean, if you look at white people or white folks, There are children that are probably, we have what we call the gypsies or the traveling community. Most of them are the ones that get into such issues.
Thank
Foster
you.
kids.
Thank you,
They
sir.
have social issues going on.
Thank you, Doc.
If you observe them, yeah.
Thank you, Doc. Well, I appreciate that because it's like I'm even learning from your responses because I had thought that was just a standard for everybody, but I appreciate the fact that you're able to situate it for us. Our viewers are engaging us in the comments. Someone said, "Career fueled by passion." Kudos, Doctor. Another person, Buki Sumola, says, "Quite an eye-opener interview. Thanks, Doctor." I see another comment here from viewer Leke Olayefu. This is an insight into real parenting. Thank you, Mr. Leke. Thank you. This Buki sounds like a female name to me. Thank you, Buki. And thank you, John, for your contributions. You can put your questions in the chat as we are live in case there's something you want us to ask Dr. Adedayo Taiwo. We have him on set today, so we have to make equity of it. We have to maximize his presence. Doc, Japa and Japada, you are my senior in diaspora. So, and I'm very passionate about Japada as a person because I'm a Japa by condition. Okay, so I used to tell people that my body is here, but my spirit is at home. But not many people appreciate that. They don't want to hear it. Some people say that's where they are. My language has filtered diaspora. This diaspora is where they are going to die, and everything. Everybody has a choice. But the point is this: what is your view on? Let us start from Japa, and you help me to just summarize it. On Japa, the question on the lips of many Nigerians today is that things are not looking up. They are not getting better. Should people still Japa? Then I'll come back to the Japada side of it so that you can. What will you say to someone if he asks you today that they want to Japa? What will you say to them?
If someone is talking to me about, we know how Japa syndrome started. Yoruba word coined from mass emigration. Right. We've had generations that have traveled before, but not in exodus as we are having currently. Right. And it's a number of things. It's sequelae from poor leadership, corruption, bad governance, and we're looking into other aspects, security. And that security aspect, you can also start looking at banditry, terrorism, and kidnapping. Right. If I want to go home, my greatest fear of all the things I've said is that aspect of security. Anybody coming from diaspora. You see many people that are in diaspora. If you're well paid and you have what we have in Nigeria, the climate, the food, the population. Now we have a youthful population. For someone who is an entrepreneur, they will get a lot from there. But that's another topic for another day. But let me tell you something. Japa is a word of circumstance, and whoever is facing it, you'll be pushed to the wall. An average Nigerian in the scaling process, if your level of affluence out of 10 is 9, your fear is that you don't want to drop to 3 or 5, so that you won't be able to take care of your thing. Cost of living. If you look at a country generally, you say, okay, standard of living, quality of life, cost of living, all those things. Everybody is frightened, except you are probably paid in foreign currency.
Doctor, will you tell them to come or not to come, or what would be your kind of advice for them in summary? I'm coming to you today. I'm not abroad, Okudayo. I'm thinking of moving abroad and this kind of thing. To Japa or not to Japa?
I will be 50-50. If you come, have the mind of coming back. I'm one of the proponents of going back home. I strongly believe in it. But in the same vein, if you're coming in and you're coming to rebrand yourself from the brain, from your skills, or make your children benefit from the system. Because if you look at what is pushing some people, it's not only finance, it's education, it's security, it's quality of life. So, but for someone who is comfortable in Nigeria financially, you can't tick all those boxes. So it's a bit difficult. But someone who is in the youthful young age, but you come here, it's not bed of roses. When you face racism, it's there. Your opportunities are there. You put in more effort as a colored person to get to the status of someone who is white.
All right.